Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Where Work Meets Life. I'm Dr. Laura, and I'm delighted today to bring you an episode on unmasking imposter syndrome, how to recognize and defeat self-doubt. Way too many of us are experiencing self-doubt and feeling like imposters as we progress through our careers. And I want to turn that upside down with a powerful conversation with someone I truly admire, Cecile Peterkin. She's a chief transformation strategist, which sounds really fancy, but she's going to explain what that means and what she does to help many, many human beings. She is the founder of the Leadership Coaching Center. She has 22 years of expertise as a distinguished confidence coach and mentor, helping thousands of professionals and aspiring entrepreneurs to unleash their strengths and pivot with purpose and craft legacy careers. Cecile is a person who has been deeply inspired by the lessons of her father, the life lessons that he gave her, which reminds me of my father, who passed away in 1997 very suddenly. And I learned so many life lessons from him in the 21 years I had with him. And I think Cecile and I share a lot in common with our fathers having a major impact on our lives. Cecile is known as a force of nature. She's experienced speaking on stages and virtually, and she shares insights to help make human lives, careers, and workplaces better. Welcome to the show, Cecile.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Cecile, and what inspires you to help people gain confidence?
Well, I'll start to when I first realized that's what I wanted to do. I am a chemistry major. That was my undergrad. And when I finished university, I couldn't find a job in that field. It was during the 80s when there was a recession. Didn't know what that was until I encountered it. And so I ended up getting a job in financial services. My intent was to go back to become a pharmacist. And the reason why I chose science is because I'm very curious. I'd like to know what's going on, how things work. And when I did financial services, I realized, geez, I'm making a lot of money in financial services. It's great. So I took the courses that's required, and I stayed, and I learned a lot while I was there. And I eventually was on the executive management team when the company was sold. And when the company was sold, I was at the point where I also wanted to leave, and I was trying to figure out what to do to go out on my own. And I thought, geez, maybe I'll do training, something like that. And I thought, I wasn't quite sure. So in between leaving my job and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I took a year off and I traveled a bit. And then my partner was at a conference in New England in the US somewhere. And he found a magazine with coaching on it. And he brought it home and said, this is what you should do. You should become a coach. So that's how that all started. And once I continued with my year because it was at the start. And once I started, and it's around the time where I started like I'm very fast. Like I move fast, I think fast, I do everything fast. And for some reason I decided that I need to just slow down and do more inner work instead of doing a lot more outer work. So that's what I did during that time period while I was getting certified to become a coach. And while one of my quiet period, I realized because while I was doing that, I was also doing my mission statement, writing down why am I here, what purpose am I supposed to be serving. I was here, and then it hit me. My purpose was waking people up to positively impact the world around them. And what brought me to that, I was just thinking about all the people that I helped during work who kept calling me while I was off because they had gotten better jobs at the new company. They're doing well. Some were supervisors, managers. And I thought, oh my God, That's true. That's exactly what I did because I helped them with their marriage, their relationship, going back to school, and everything. So once I found my purpose, I decided I would do life coaching. And when I started, got certified for life coaching, I realized that that's not what people were looking for because they feel that they should have control over their life, but they don't feel like they have control over their career or anything else. And I'm trying to tell them career is part of your life. Is your life it's everything that's going on around you. Um, but they didn't get it. So I decided to pivot from life coaching and went to career coaching. And bingo, that worked extremely well. They'll talk about your life because it's part of your goal. What do you want to be? What do you want to do in your life? It's part of setting goals, and it worked. Where people started based on their career, but then in the goal setting piece of it, I would start discussing about what do you want from life. What do you want to do later on when you retire, or do you want when you have kids? Like these things are things you have to plan out. So they were getting the life. I was getting the career part of it, which I totally enjoy. And that's what brought me to where I am today. From working with a lot more women than I work with men, and because men just seem to get it a lot quicker and moved on. And women take a longer time. Imposter syndrome, yes, tons. Just, yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you and I have a lot in common with the Canada Career Counseling that I founded 15 years ago. That's exactly what my team does, is help people find purpose and pivot their careers and find meaning at all stages. And I think it's really important, powerful work. And so many humans need what we do, Cecile.
They do. Actually, yes, they do. And more these days as well.
So, I want to talk about the fact that women suffer more than men with imposter syndrome and they question themselves more. Why is that?
I feel because we are more conscious, because women are critical of themselves and critical of other women. It's very rare that you hear a man really criticizing another man based on how he looks or what he's wearing. So women have become very self-conscious, and I think part of it too is ever since they were kids, because you have some family or some girls or boys that might be overweight, and they'll never say to their son you're overweight, but to the daughter, someone will say, "Oh, you better stop eating because you're overweight." So it's something that it's just inborn in a lot of us based on how we were raised. And so we're conscious of everything. And we never got the opportunity to, a lot of times, to be who we wanted to be when we were kids. Some girls are tomboys like myself, I was. But again, my father, he encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do because that's who I was. So I was okay with it until one day I wasn't, when he stopped me from wearing pants and I had to put on a dress because we were going out. And I cried. I think I was around 12. And I bawled my eyes out. I didn't want to wear a dress. And he goes, "We're not going anywhere and you cannot ruin this trip. Up the stairs, change."
So you were stubborn. You remind me of my daughter, stubborn.
Stubborn. And I'm accustomed to getting away with my dad. "Oh, yeah, you're okay." This day I was not okay. And I was crying in the car and he wasn't having a thing. He wasn't listening at all. It's like, too bad. And so it was great. He'd see me hopping a fence with my stepbrother, and he would never say, "Come home because you're a girl." So I was accustomed to that. So it makes life a lot easier for me because I get along really well with men. And I have a lot of male friends because of that as well. But not everyone is that fortunate. As a woman, you are pegged, especially where the time you were born, what you should be and what you should be doing. Where, the boys are outside playing, the girls have to be inside in the kitchen helping their mom and things like that. So it's the socialization back then when you're younger is completely different. Now it's just changed a little bit, but there's still that thing when girls get to a certain age, puberty, and their friends start, a lot of times they have a little extra weight. Their friends who are skinnier will start making fun of them. So I think that's where it's all created from. And if I remember in high school, there was this beautiful blonde girl, beautiful, but she didn't want to be beautiful. She wanted to be smart. And I even remember her name to this day, Kathy. Kathy was blonde and beautiful and dating one of the football guys that was on the football team or something like that. Wasn't very bright because he didn't really push it. But she was always nicely dressed, did not really fool around in the hallways or anything because she didn't want to be the dumb blonde. And she wasn't the dumb blonde because she was very smart anyway. And I never forget her because, especially now, when I look at women has changed a lot compared to then, I realize that she was so different for back then as well. Where that's no, she didn't. She just wanted to be smart, and she was smart. And that's the thing. And this is why too. I think a few years ago, when they were talking about all girls school and all boys school, the girls do a lot better than the all boys. They outshine them because there's not that energy and chemistry and whatever to say, look at me, I'm beautiful, instead of look at me, I'm smart and I'm a smart girl. And I think that's part of the whole imposter syndrome where we question ourselves. And if you're in a board meeting or you're top of the game in the corporate world, but at the same time, when you're sitting around that board table with all the men and other women that are there, women really don't speak up as much as they should speak up. And that's because, yet again, it's just being a woman. It's hard to describe, but it's just they they want to be seen as smart, but they also want to be seen as beautiful and don't realize that you can be both.
It's an and, not an or, and that really resonates with me because I think we can be both, and I think that women aren't as good at interrupting and jumping in or jumping into roles or opportunities and just saying, yeah, maybe I'm not ready, but yes, I can do it. I'm putting up my hand for that. We tend to say, oh, I'll be ready in 2 years once I check off X, Y, and Z in that list of criteria, where the man will just ignore the criteria and jump in. So yeah, it's really, really interesting, which brings me to my question, like, why do women play smaller, or some women, not all, but some women play smaller around men? Why do they do that?
For me, I always think that it goes back to how you were raised or how you're socialized, as the socialists will say. And if you're accustomed to being involved where your parents are talking, their friends are over, and everyone is talking, and you can interject and say things, I think it's easier for you as you move in the world to be able to talk to anyone from any walks of life because you're not feeling intimidated. If you have something to say, you can say it without trying to dress it up to make it sound like you're not very bright. It's the whole combination of that. I think that's what it is. And if you're raised that, you know, the little woman can sit over there and be quiet, that's what you will bring into the corporate world, even though you've gone to university, you've got all the acronyms behind your name, but you still won't speak up. And let's face this as well, too. From my experience in a lot of these board meetings, men tend to talk over women because, again, women don't project to themselves to be heard. And I don't want to stereotype, and I think as well too, some girls are raised not to be loud, right? And if a man is talking and you want to speak and you have something to say, there's no there's no reason why you said, could you be quiet for a few minutes so I can be heard? Because to me, you get more respect that way than not say anything or they can hear you because they'll keep talking.
Yeah, can you be quiet for a few minutes so I can get my point out? Because you keep interrupting me, and I feel like you're hogging most of the airspace, and that I need some air too. Otherwise, I'm going to faint.
I love that. It's true. It's true. Because even my partner and I, and he knows who I am. He knows he shouldn't do it, but he'll still do it. I said, be quiet. I'm speaking. He goes, okay, yes, ma'am. Because yeah, it's a thing, right?
And I did an episode, it was a few episodes ago, and it was on how to listen. And it was a beautiful episode that I think every single person needs to listen to, because it's all about the keys to listening and how most people think they listen well and most people do not listen well.
Yes, that is true.
And that's a huge problem in general. End of story. Huge problem. But Back to you and talking about women and playing small around men. I mean, I know there's a shortage of women in leadership roles, and so playing small is obviously part of that. But what else is contributing to that, and how can we get more women rising into leadership?
One of the biggest issue with women, we need to find mentors. And it's good what I tell my clients. I says, have two mentors, have a female and a male, because you'll be able to learn from both, and you'll get different perspective that you can mirror and take what you want from both. And that tend to work very well. And that's the main thing I tell them. You're in corporate, you're managing, you want to get into a bigger leadership role than just managing people, get a male and a female mentor. And we need to spend more time as women who has risen to the top is also make sure you're mentoring someone. And I did a talk for, I think it was 2022 International Women's Day, and that was about breaking the bias. And so it was talking about similar to what we were talking about now. And I said, every woman in a leadership role or a manager should have someone that they're mentoring that can actually move into their position at some point. So you should always make sure there's someone else behind you that is a woman. And I think that's what's lacking, why a lot of women have given up on the leadership role. And the reason why, too, I find a lot of women that's given up is they figure there's no space for them because it's like a little boys' club. And yes, there is. You know, when I was sitting around the table, yeah, a lot of the men, you can tell they would buddy buddy, whatever. But that shouldn't stop you from actually having a relationship or speaking with them, right? Because as women as well too, we go out and for lunch together and do our own thing. So not because the men aren't inviting you, you can invite yourself along as well too. So it's don't wait to be invited in. It's actually make yourself be known. And says, you know what, guys, I want to join you guys today. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about over lunch. So it's make yourself approachable and also be seen.
Yeah, and I know this senior executive in my city, and she's worked her way up into a really senior role in an energy company. And she grew up in the field. So earlier in her career, she was in the field with the field guys, and she just was one of them, just, hanging out with them, speaking their language, and they loved it because she was direct and she was honest and she just was real. I think it's about authenticity. It's not trying to be something that you're not. And it's understanding all these guys are just human beings with their own problems and past traumas and challenges in their current lives. And then if you kind of look beyond that, I mean, I like looking beyond gender. And I would add to your point about having a male and a female, I would say people who are non-gender binary too can add a whole other element in terms of mentorship and experience. And I think that, yeah, this world is becoming in many more shades than male and female or black and white, or there's just so many different shades of what people bring from their experience and their backgrounds. Would you agree?
Yes, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that topic because it's so true. And we're Canadians, so we know what it's like about diversity everywhere you turn. So, and if we and the fact remain is, we need immigrants in order to keep our population growing, because nobody's having children. So therefore, how our population is supposed to grow. So we have all these people coming in who are also very well educated, and so we have to learn how to maneuver that and make sure that we're being inclusive with everyone. It doesn't matter who they are or where they're from. So you are right about that. It's the color doesn't matter. Your sexuality doesn't matter. Male or female, it doesn't matter. To me, it's what you bring to the table and what you've got in common and working together for whatever you're working on or whatever company you're working with, to make it better for yourself, for the company or your group, whatever it is. That should be your goal.
Yeah, and it's what's on the inside that matters. It really is. And who cares who someone sleeps with and what their background is? Like it's what's on the inside that matters.
Because I totally agree with you. I say that to people all the time. And I said, I don't care what they look like. Oh, you know what? They're interesting, and whatever they're bringing to the table, I like it. So I'm going to talk to them and hang out with them. Like at the gym, whenever I'm not there and I walk in, there goes, "Oh my God, the gym was so quiet." And I'm saying, I'm getting a little resentful now because
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same, right? The Uber driver, right? I'll often develop a connection there and, link in with them. I mean, Uber drivers are fascinating. But yeah, I think I learned that from my father, who talked equally as well and eloquently to the CEO as he did the janitor. And he treated everybody the same. And people just love that. And it made his life so interesting and his perspectives on the world so deep and wise by doing that. Was your father like that too, Cecile?
yes, he was. Yes, he was. Because it's funny because our family is relatively small. And my mom, my dad, and my sister have passed away. And there were only two kids, my sister and I. So the only immediate family remaining is
Oh, I'm sorry.
thanks. It has become a joke now, to tell you the truth, because the only remaining family now are my two, my niece, one nephew, and it's from my sister because I don't have any kids. And we all talk a lot. So they didn't take after their father. And we laugh about it all the time because we always talk about my dad. And he, all the time he goes, "Oh, yeah, Grandpa, he talks a lot." And so do my niece and nephew. So, yes. Yeah. But you know what I like about it, though? And the older I get, and you can relate to this, the older I get, I realize how much I've learned from him and how much I enjoy his company. And I don't know, it just made me a different person as well. Like, I'm not afraid to talk to anyone.
That's awesome. We're so much alike. We have totally different backgrounds, right? So you grew up where specifically, and where do you live now in the GTA? Remind me.
At the GTA, I'm midtown. So I'm not downtown. So I'm midtown. So to get to the core, uh, it's maybe 20 minutes.
So you're in Toronto, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in what is now known as Scarborough, but when I was there, it wasn't known as Scarborough. It was a little enclave where, let's put it this way, farmlands were actually in our backyard. So you went through the back gate, you crossed the street, and there are all farms along there. Because I remember my stepbrother and I used to work on the farms because we were too young to have a job. So we used to work on the farms. So yeah, when I tell people that, they're laughing. I'm saying, yeah, because now it's all houses. I said Toronto was a little town.
But you see, you look young to me, so that I don't think it was that long ago. But yeah, it shows how much things have changed and grown in the GTA.
Yes, it certainly has.
So, what can we do? I have a 14-year-old daughter, for example, and always working on building her confidence. She's quite shy. So, what can we do to raise more confident girls that grow into themselves and grow into potential leaders of the future?
Accept them for who they are. Because 14 and being shy is not a bad thing. Um, she just, she's 2 years into her teens. And before she was 14, what was her personality like?
Shy as well, but yeah, now she's a true teenager. We'll just leave it at that. So,
Yes. So, of course, exactly. She was shy before. Now that she's a teenager, they go in, right? Because they're going through all these things. Their hormones are different. Everything is changing, and they don't understand what's going on, even though at 14 they think they're grown up. But one of the things I remember my sister doing is, granted, my niece was quite active and she wasn't shy at all. But one thing she did just to get her, because she was active, to let her settle down a bit, she had her in just about every extracurricular activity you can think of. Until she found the one she really loved, and she loved dancing. So she took dance, and sports like that really help girls as well too, because and playing soccer as well too, or baseball. Yes, she played soccer and baseball as well, plus dancing, because there's that camaraderie where they're mixing, they're talking, and playing sports really take you out of your shell. Yeah. So that's something she could get involved in.
and she is. So she's in sport, but she's also in show choir, which show choir is its own sport, dancing, singing, choreo, doing something as a team. It's just just wonderful. And I can see that really helping her.
Well, she's okay then.
Oh, she is. She is. But I think, people hearing it or watching this episode, I think growing confidence in girls can be done in different ways, but needs attention. And I think girls need mentors, not just from parents, but from aunts, uncles, cousins, community members. I just hired a personal trainer for my daughter to, just teach her more of the techniques. She likes working out and I want her to do it right. But just having other mentors in her life who are strong women, I think is powerful.
It is. No, it is. And I use my niece as an example because since she's the only one and we're close. And I used to take her everywhere. We were always out together. And I used to call her like my little handbag because everywhere. And we are similar in personality. So we used to butt heads a lot. But she was always there. She'd always come back. She'd always come back because she was having fun and she was learning and growing. And yeah, so it's a good idea when they do have other mentors apart from their parents. Because I was the aunt, but I was also like the mentor. And she would tell me things sometimes that I don't want to hear it, but at the same time, I would listen because I want to have a conversation with her about it. Yeah.
Well, Cecile, she's lucky to have you in her life.
She seemed to think so, actually.
I think so for sure as well. So anything else you want to say about, how you're helping more women step into leadership and anything else companies can do in this regard?
The women have to step up. I know women tend to sit back and work and work and work and work and work hard and expect that someone is going to say, oh, you're working hard, so I'm going to promote you. It doesn't work like that. Hard work, and this is what I try to say to my clients, the ones that will complain I work so hard. I said, something I learned from a wise man. That wise man was my dad. He said, working hard. What exactly is working hard? What are you generating from working hard? What did you change from working hard? Are you still doing the same job that you were hired for, but working harder at it? He said, why would I pay you more to do that? It's true. He would say you cannot be on a job for after 5 years and you're still doing the same thing and you have no idea how to change it to make it improve something so the company is growing or you are growing. And so hard work doesn't really pay off. So if you see something that someone is doing, the best thing to do is actually approach them and says, you know what, I'm interested in that job. Can we go for lunch or coffee and talk about it? And if you like the conversation, later on you could say, do you mind mentoring me? Or, when you're not busy, I can sit and watch in to see what you're doing. It's not difficult. It's something that's easily done. It really is. And this is why I said I realized my purpose because that's what I did when I was in corporate. I would look at someone and see how well they're doing the work. And when it comes time, and what I used to do is also monthly one-on-ones because you shouldn't wait until someone review and then you hit them with something they haven't done. So I do monthly one-on-ones, and in those monthly ones, we talk about what their future look like, what do they want to do, and whatever it is that they want to do. I said, well, you can start right now. I can match you up with someone in the company that you can sit in on and see what they're doing. So, but they have to step forward to talk about it because your leader, your manager is just going to sit there and think, well, they're happy with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I would even say this has been on my mind lately, the power of the one-on-ones and how a lot of managers cancel one-on-ones. They say, okay, I'm too busy. Let's just bump this one-on-one. And what can happen is they can happen less and less frequently. But I think really the one-on-one should be 2 weeks apart, ideally, and treated like gold. That time, that one-on-one time to check in, to understand what's going on with a person is such an important engagement and retention tool.
Yes, it is. It is because, and to your point as well, too, because that's also the time you can find out how's their home life. If you know they have kids or they have a husband, how are you managing? Because it's not just about the job, it's also about their personal well-being. What I learned as well, too, is the moment you start speaking about someone's family, their performance at work changes. It becomes better. because they also realize that this person care about me because they've asked about my family and they ask about the kids. And the moment that change happens, you continue, make it keep going, keep it going, keep it going. Always ask how the kids are doing. How are you doing? How is life? Are you still, how are you with the job? Do you want to change jobs now that the kids are older and you want to get into something else? Um, as managers and leaders, we do need to pay more attention.
And you should remember the facts. So if you're a person who doesn't have a great memory for the details, put it in your phone, put it on an app, put it in your calendar where you say, okay, I remember Cecile has a niece and a nephew, and Cecile lost her sister, and Cecile, lives here in Midtown. And you just remember those details. And then next time you can ask Cecile questions and you can remind her, or you can bring up something and you say, wow, Laura actually listened to me. Laura actually remembers and cares about my life and my father and what an influence he was on me.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's exactly what it is. It's that human contact. And I do think a lot of times when we become leaders and managers, because they're two different things, we forget that the people that we're dealing with are actually human beings with life outside of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we just completely forget they have kids that they have to go home to listen to how their school day was. So you're right. It's just asking these questions about, so what did you do on the weekend? Yeah, Monday, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, geez, that was fun. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, my final three questions that I asked all my guests as we wrap up this episode and great discussion are: what does work life wellness mean to you, and how do you play it out in your life, Cecile?
Okay. That's top of my game. And it starts first thing in the morning. If I'm not looked after, nobody else can get looked after. So, I'm joking about it, but it is important. It really is. And even when I was in corporate, they all knew me and they knew my workout. And I love telling the story because I realized they were all paying attention. So I would go into the office early in the morning. Then I'd leave from the office. I'd go in my workout clothes and I'd go to the gym. It was in walking distance. And then I would come back and, get my work done and stuff like that. And then in the evening, I would clock out at 4 o'clock and I'd go to the gym and I'd come back. No meetings. I would get some work done. And I remember one day, a gentleman that was reporting to me said, you, you haven't gone to the gym lately, have you? And I said, no. And he said, please go to the gym in first thing in the morning. And I said, why? And he goes, because you're a lot nicer. And that was the good thing, though, because I always had the policy that they can say whatever that's affecting them because of me. So therefore, he didn't like when I didn't go to the gym. And that has followed me right through because now I'm working for myself. I'm up at 4. I do my meditation and stuff like that and just get centered. Then I go to the gym. Then I come home and I start with my clients. Because once I am taken care of, I can take care of everyone else. And there's no resentment. And I get to enjoy what I love to do. So I'm enjoying the gym and I'm enjoying my clients. I'm enjoying when I was in corporate, I was enjoying the staff, everybody. So it's very important. And sometimes what people don't realize, there's no such thing as a full balance, especially if you have kids, that sometimes it is going to go out of whack. And when it does, you have to realize it, but don't continue it. It's have a timeline as to, okay, I've got to get on track. And this is, I give it another 2 weeks to fix everything and get back on track. So sometimes, yes, you're going to be out of balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the word balance either. I don't think I've ever been in full balance, and I'll never be in full balance, but I will be well in my work and life. So, Cecile, what's one book and one podcast you listen to for your own growth and development?
The book that I just finished reading is Emotional Grit. And have you heard of that one?
I have.
It is a really good book. And what I like about it is GRIT stands for grow. The R is reveal, and the I is innovate, and the T is transform. And it's really about managing your emotions. And when I read, I'm halfway through it because I have so many books I'm reading on the go all at once. And what I really like about that one, it's really showing you that you can actually succeed at what you set out to succeed at. But it's up to you. It's not up to anyone else but yourself. And you really have to take the time to look at yourself and be honest about yourself. We cannot keep blaming everyone or it was the boss, it was my husband, it was the kids. It's really looking at yourself, and that's where the grid comes in. And that's what I love about it.
That blame game is dangerous.
Yes.
And one
Yes, it
podcast,
is.
just
Yeah.
very quickly, just one podcast.
Gen Z at work.
Ah, interesting.
Yes. And the reason why I'm so interested in that one, because I have clients who are working with Gen Zs. I have parents I'm working with that have Gen Zs. And so it's nice listening to that podcast because I like that group. And what I don't like, I really don't like labels because a lot of times when we start labeling people, we're not seeing them for what they're actually bring to the table. We're just seeing a label. And what I normally used to say to my clients when they're complaining, I said, what are your age group of your kids? And they'll tell me, I said, so you've got a couple of kids that are Gen Zs. Yes. I said, you raised them. Yes. I said, the Gen Zs that you're complaining about at work, are those kids different from the ones that you have at home? And they'll go silent. And I said, are they? And they goes, no, I see where you're going with this. I said, yes, somebody's raising them. And you are part of the people that are raising them. And I said, they're just different from every other generation. That's all it is. And yes, they think they know everything. I said, but so did every other generation. And I said, but you have to meet them halfway and you have to get to know them as a person and speak to them like a person. Don't speak to them that because I am senior, I know more than you, because they know a lot that you might not know. So I said, that's the best way, but I don't want to hear any more complaint about them. What I want to hear when we meet for our session is what have you done to change the relationship?
That's beautiful.
And some will come back saying, wow, that worked. Yeah, you're right. They have some good ideas. Of course they do.
Yes, they do. I love my Gen Zs. I have a few of them on my team and around me, my students, and I just can't imagine my life without them. They bring so much.
Exactly. And they're young. That's what I like as well, too, because they'll keep me young.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, and they're smart.
Oh, yeah. Smart, creative, innovative, all of that. So, my final question, what's one wish for a better world when it comes to the world of work, Cecile?
It doesn't matter what color, what sex, doesn't matter who you're sleeping with. It really doesn't matter. It's what you bring to the table. And if we can just get rid of everything else, all the labels out there, and just see people as people and work together, we'd be a lot more successful and we'd achieve a lot more. And we'd live happier lives, to be honest.
And we'd have a happier, more peaceful world, I would add.
Yeah.
Because we have way more in common with each other globally than we do differences, don't we, as a human race?
Yes, we do. And part of it too is I don't think people realize human beings need social contact and interaction with each other. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. And if we look at it that way as make it more of a social thing, then we'll realize that we can learn so much about people from all parts of the world.
Yes.
And by learning that too, we become more accepting of each other.
And that's what we need in this world, more acceptance. So thank you so much, Cecile, for a wonderful discussion on unmasking imposter syndrome. And we covered some other territory too, which is great. And thank you for all that you're doing to make the world of work and human lives better.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Where Work Meets Life. If you found this content valuable, please rate and review the episode and share with others who may benefit. Visit me on my website at drlaura.live and sign up for my monthly e-newsletter full of tips and resources. I'm also a passionate keynote speaker and would be delighted to speak with you on your speaking needs. Stay well.